Okay, we've got that going. And we hit 2 o'clock, so just to keep us punctual, I'm going to get us rolling and say hello and good afternoon or good morning or wherever you happen to be. Thanks for jumping in and joining. Aaron Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel. I'm the section traffic manager in the North Texas section of ARRL, and that's just a nice fancy way of saying I get to overlook traffic handling and those types of things here in this section. And so part of that is taking some time to help new hams learn about the traffic system and traffic handling and that facet of amateur radio. And so again, if you have any questions during this session, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll try and grab them as they show up. And as far as field day, we'll cover that towards the end, get your questions answered there, how to get your bonus points for next weekend. And again, the recording will be up this evening up on YouTube, and I'll send everybody a link to that so that you can go watch this again if you have anything you'd like to re-review. So I suppose I should quickly start with how I got started in this whole thing. It was many years ago. I was actually living in Michigan at that time, and that's why my call sign has an 8 in it. And we were preparing for a simulated emergency test, and when it came to time to give me my assignment, they said, okay, we need you to go to this hospital and you're going to fill out this radiogram and you're going to send this message to us over the air. And I said, okay, I don't know how to do that. And so that became my entry into the radiogram world and how the traffic system works and that type of thing. So since then, I've kept building on that, and now I'm the section traffic manager. So glad that I'm able to pass on the knowledge I've built up over all that time over to you guys. So here's what we're going to try and achieve here in the next hour. Just a quick high-level overview of the traffic system, the skills that you can pick up from participating, and then we'll dive into the radiogram format and its components, and we'll have some hands-on practice. So I want to try and get out of the PowerPoint here as quickly as we can, but we're going to be in here a little bit. I got to give you this foundation, otherwise the rest of it won't make sense. So we'll start with the high-level overview of the traffic system. Essentially, it's just an organized network of hams that work together to move traffic, or in this case, messages, from one place to another. It started back in 1915, so over 100 years ago, as the formal system of the ARRL to move these things. This is the relay in American Radio Relay League. So if you ever get the random trivia question of why is it called the Relay League, this is what it comes from. This is about relaying information, traffic, or these messages from one place to another. There's basically 4 types of things that will move over this system. Emergency traffic, that we'd be in a major incident for this one. Life or death, we need immediate supplies, or I need to know where to send these survivors, or those types of things. It's the highest priority traffic that we can move over the traffic system. Up next is priority. That's where time's important and we're still in the incident, but it's not as critical as, I need to know what hospital to send them to or something like that. So, thinking more, I have this many that are wounded, more of a status update, rather than I need medical supplies now for this many people or that type of thing. Welfare traffic, again, we're still in an incident, and this kind of relates to how folks are doing in that area. And you can think of this as the I want to let my family know that I'm okay, even though I'm in this affected area. I'm not hurt, or I'm okay, or I'm at this shelter, or those types of things. And so those things would move over the system as welfare traffic. And then finally, we have what's essentially the catch-all bucket, routine traffic. And these are the general messages that cross the system. You might have received some of them. We get folks that monitor for new hams, and so they'll send the welcome to the hobby traffic and those types of things. These types of messages, these routine messages, are what help us test the system and build these skills so that we have them before we get into the incident. And again, I'm trying to push through this so we could get out of the slides and into more interesting things. If you have any questions, so throw them in the chat, please. The NTS, the National Traffic System from ARRL, is primarily set up for US and Canada-based traffic, but we can move things globally through the traffic system as a whole. So some traffic comes in from a station in Germany, Peter DL4FN, and that all moves through the traffic system from Germany all the way over to here to the US, and we can move things back there. Traffic moves through just any of the general modes that you would normally use on amateur radio, so voice, Morse code, the digital traffic network, DTN. If you've heard folks talking about using WinLink to move your traffic for your field day bonus points, that's essentially what's driving that is WinLink. General rules of amateur radio apply to this, so no, commercial messages or sales or, that type of thing. Although if you have some amateur radio gear that you want to, offer, you could do that because that fits within the scope of what we're allowed to do, but, no commercial messages or anything like that. And as far as moving to other countries, the same reciprocacy rules apply, just as you would for any other amateur radio operation. And if it's third-party traffic, then the third-party rules apply. Essentially, I think it's pretty much everywhere except like North Korea or a couple of things like that. And as far as third-party, there's a list of countries that'll accept third-party traffic, and that's where, let's say, I put a message into the system on behalf of a friend of mine that doesn't have an amateur radio license or something like that. So you can move traffic for folks that are not amateur radio operators, but if they're going to another country, you got to keep the third-party rules in mind. So let's talk about how a message can move through this system. We essentially start most of this at the local level or the section level. And so let me get my fancy laser pointer going. So most of the time, traffic will start at a local traffic net or a section-based traffic net. That could be a 2-meter traffic net or something similar like that. And then if it's a piece of traffic that's staying local to that area, then that traffic will never leave that net. It would get picked up there and it would get moved there and delivered from there. If it's something that's moving across the region or across the country, then that's when we start to move up into these larger regional nets or area nets, and then we can jump across to the next area's traffic nets and bring it back down until we get back into the local net level or as close as we can to that, and then a station there would pick up that traffic and attempt the local delivery there. So that makes sense. We start normally at the local levels and then we move up and cross and come back down for local delivery. We would not want it where, let's say someone in New Jersey wants to send something to here in Texas, that you wouldn't hand that traffic to another station in New Jersey and then they make the phone call to deliver it. It would move through the traffic net to come all the way here to Texas before that would happen. And hopefully that makes sense. And I see in the chat, Sean's put the link to the third-party traffic list. Thank you much. Let's keep rolling here. Here's maybe a better example of how things would work. Let's say I want to send a message to a family member in Michigan. This is real world. I've moved traffic this way, and this is how it's flowed. So first I would start by bringing that piece of traffic to my local net, and here that's the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex traffic net. And I check in and I say I have one piece of traffic that's headed to Michigan, and then the net control station will work to figure out how to route that out of here so that it makes its way to Michigan. And I'll walk through how a net control station kind of figures that mapping out later on here in the session. So the net control station identifies who I'm going to give that to. That station then relays it to someplace closer to get it closer to its destination in Michigan. In this case, it was moved over the digital traffic net to a station in Indiana. Then a station in Michigan picked that up to keep it moving towards, again, its destination there in Michigan. That again went over the digital traffic network, but things can interrupt based on the flow of how the traffic moves from one place to another. But again, in this one, it was the digital modes. That station in Michigan was then able to make that final delivery. They were actually about 5 miles-ish away from where this was going. So that's really close to get it towards its delivery point. That station then picks up the phone and makes the phone call to say, hey, I have this message for you that's come over amateur radio, and here's what the message says, and here's who it's from. Any questions on how that flow kind of worked? Again, I'm kind of going quickly here to try and fit as much time in here. I want to be respectful of your time. So thinking about how this skill set that comes from traffic handling helps with other areas, it really gives you some real world hands-on practice on how to speak on the air. And that could be a traffic net, that could be a Skywarn net, it could just be your local social net or things. Right? When we're moving this traffic, there's some very clear things that need to happen. Most important is to speak slowly and then to speak clearly. We like to say that slow is fast and fast is slow. And what we mean by that is if you go slow, then you only need to say it once. If you go too fast, and the other station, they've got their blank radiogram, and they're trying to write it all down while you're saying it. If you go too fast, then they're going to miss things, and they're going to have to come back and ask, okay, what was the word after this? Or could you say everything again after? That means they totally lost you. They just gave up. So we want you to speak slowly. Whatever you think slow is, speak slower than that, and that's probably where you need to be. We also want you to speak clearly. So you may need to enunciate some words. So instead of saying enunciate, you could say enunciate or something like that. But we want to make sure we try and get this right the first time because, as I've got in the last one, we need this to arrive word for word and letter for letter. We need the thing to get there exactly as how it started. It should pretty much essentially be a Xerox copy of whatever the first station started with and get it to its destination exactly as it started. And a way I like to contextualize that is that you don't read the message when you're moving it, you send the message. And I think that puts a different perspective on the objective of this. It's much different. Well, let me read this to you. It says, da, da, da. When you're sending it, it just puts that extra perspective of, I need this thing to arrive exactly as how it started. It also gives you some familiarity with working on a net and how to listen for instructions. If you're on a traffic net and the instructions are, all right, I'm looking for stations with traffic, please check in with your call sign phonetically only. Then that means if you have a message that you're bringing, then you would check it only using your call sign phonetically and not, yeah, this is Aaron, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, and I have a piece of traffic. The instructions were to just check it using your call sign phonetically only. Same things when you're working a Skywarn net and let's say the reporting criteria during severe weather is only report in hail larger than ½ inch or cloud rotation, right? Those are the instructions. And so by getting familiar with working on a net and honing in on those instructions, it builds your skills there. Also builds your skills in ITU phonetics. They are the gold standard of the traffic system. So Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, those. If you're working on a 2-meter traffic net, you'll probably get away with an occasional dog or cat or something as you're building up those things. If you start working on traffic nets that are on the high frequency, on HF nets, very much the gold standard. You're going to need to know those ITU phonetics like the back of your hand type of thing. This also helps with pro signs or pro words. A lot of these, the pro words that we use in traffic nets cross over in a bunch of different areas. Do you copy? Do you copy my traffic? Please say again your traffic. If you've ever worked with public safety or listened to public safety dispatchers work their magic when managing incidents or things like that, it's a lot of the same terms. The officer, please come again with your traffic. Please say again. Or copy your traffic, or different things like that. We'll go over some pro words here in a bit, but you'll build those skills if you're ever thrown into something where you're assisting with public safety, that you're going to have a good grasp on a lot of these pro words. And then last, this helps you with being concise in your messaging. There are only 25 spaces or groups or words in here for your message. And so if you can say it in 5 words instead of 10, then go for it in the 5. If your message is unnecessarily long, then what's happening is any other stations that are behind you waiting now have to keep waiting until you get your much longer message moved. It's the same thing in public safety. If there's an incident going on and someone's jumped in with something that they need to let dispatch know, you need to be quick and to the point because you need to get that done and get out of the way because there could be someone else that really needs to jump in with some emergency traffic, Mayday or, something like that. So really helpful to be concise. Also helps you with the ICS 213 is for any of you that have dived in on your incident command system, the ICS side of things. You're probably familiar with this form. A lot of the relaying is similar with this. There is no national standard on how to move a 213 over the air. It's actually a discussion point that's happening right now to try and figure out if we can standardize. But some local areas have come up with their own standards for moving these over the air. So you could check with your local, like your ARRL's emergency coordinator, things to find out if there's some details for your area. But your skill set for moving these radiograms will transfer over into this. Again, the speaking slowly and clearly and enunciating and those types of things. And we want to do all this practice now because, and I love this quote, when the disaster begins, the time to prepare is over. It ends. So, when I think about field day that's coming up in a week, the time to get ready is not during field day. It's now. So, when we get into the emergency side of things, if someone says, "I need you to go to the emergency operations center and help with these radio communications," you don't want to be going in blind on that. Now is the time to build that skill set. Mistakes. So I'll put it this way. Smart mistakes are okay. Again, if you're in the disaster incident, that's not the time to be learning. But now when things are okay, if you jump in on the nets as part of your journey to learn, you make a small mistake, it's okay. You can correct it and keep going. If you didn't know it, then someone else should kindly jump in and tell you, hey, that really needed to be do that way, or that type of thing. If there's one thing I can give you out of this whole talk that you could walk away with, it would be this: is sometimes folks are worried about, well, I'm going to sound dumb if I do this or something. I'm going to make a mistake, and we all have started with our first radiogram. We've all taken our first steps, type of thing. It's all part of learning and growing. So, the best way that you can get in there and start growing your skill set is to jump in, and thankfully you'll be coming in with some background, some details on it because you're learning things here. And so when you do start interacting with traffic nets, you have your base of knowledge that you can build off of, right? But I've been doing this for some time, and there are some occasions where I'm talking on the air with what I'm doing, and whoops, and it's whoops, okay, I've put the amateur in amateur radio today, so it's okay, we kind of move on, and life goes on, and we're all good to go there. All right, so we're going to jump into the radiogram format next. I'll pause for 10 seconds or so. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat so far. That was really the kind of the high level overview of the traffic system and some of the skill sets that you can get from it. I mean, we could dive in a lot further on area nets and regional nets and how they function and things, but I think that's a lot of diving in that you don't need at starting out. Just having the general idea of this is how things move through it is really what I'm looking for there. All right, I'll keep moving then. Again, if any questions, feel free to jump in. All right, so why the radiogram format? This is a standardized format that we all use, so that doesn't matter if you're involved with the ARRL National Traffic System, if you're working with Radio Relay International with their component of the whole traffic system, or independent traffic nets, like here in this area, the 7290 traffic net as an independent net, but we're all using the same radiogram format. And it's because it gives us the same standard to all work off of, even when we're moving internationally. And so we can more efficiently move these when we're moving them over the air. We can also trace these. Something that, when you're thinking the 213 and you move it over the air, they don't have any spaces for tracking things. But on the radiograms, we very much have who did you receive this from, who did you send it to, and what's their call sign, and what time, so that we can follow the flow of that radiogram through the system if we need to come back later and understand how it moved through there. This is the radiogram format, and usually when I give this in person, there's some little animation-y things that help make it less boring, I guess. They kind of transfer to online, so hopefully this works pretty well, but it shouldn't affect anything too much, other than it might look a little, here, we'll show you if it, kind of jumped type of thing, but there you go. So we're going to break this radiogram down into sections and walk through them one at a time, and this would effectively be the order that you would fill it in. So we'll start with the first part, and that is the header. And this effectively allows us to get that base tracking information for this radiogram and to understand, a lot of the information. Think of it kind of like your email header, the from and the to, and that type of thing is what this header and the address part are going to accomplish. The first part of this is its number. This is assigned by whoever created the message at the very beginning, and it's so that station can track their radiograms. So for example, if someone came back later and said, I have a question about your number 37, well, I can go look that up because I know what 37 is, and I can find that in my records. There's no standardized way of putting these numbers. I personally went with consecutive, so my first radiogram was 1, and my second one was 2, and my third one was 3, and so on. And I haven't reset it yet. I'm up to number, I think, 300 and something right now. If I get some what I consider large number, like message number 4,000 or wherever, I'll start over back to 1 and then cycle it again. But you could also do it by formatting by month, for example. So if it was March 1st and it's your first message, then it could be 301 for March and 302, again for March, or second one in March, and that type of thing. So really, it's kind of up to you how you want to do this. The key thing is just have something that you're able to go back and track. You could say reset it every year as well. I mean, if you've got a piece of traffic that's a year old, we're probably not going to come back and ask anything about it at that point. It's a year old. So you could always feel free to start your numbers over again at the beginning of the year. Next one is precedence. This is what we talked about earlier. Is it emergency, priority, welfare, routine, traffic? When filling in the radiogram, it's handy to just abbreviate it. So R for routine. Typically, we'll still say routine on the air, but just to say that, we'll just write R. Emergency, though, is always written out fully. We want to call out the high significance of emergency traffic. So we always write the word emergency. Otherwise, like I mentioned, generally everything you're going to see is routine traffic, including your field day traffic. That will be routine traffic. The next one is the handling instructions. This is optional, so you don't have to fill this in. But essentially, it gives some information on how to handle that traffic as it's moving through the system, and or how to deliver that message. And so we'll go through the quick chart. This is in the handout that I prepared. If you happen to print that out, you'll find this in there. These are already predefined. We all understand the standards. If you use these, we all will know what you're meaning by them. The most common handling instruction that we see is Hotel X-Ray Golf, that last one, which essentially says don't spend any of your personal money trying to deliver this message. And if you do need to spend money, then just never mind. No need to deliver it, but please let me know. So I would send a radiogram back saying I was unable to deliver that message. Hotel X-Ray Charlie is asking, please let me know when this got delivered to its destination. And so if I had something come to me like that, then I make the phone call delivery. Then I would send a message back to whoever created that, saying I delivered your message at this date and time, because that's the ask from Hotel X-Ray Charlie. You can use more than one, so if you wanted both Charlie and Golf, it would be Hotel X-Ray Charlie Golf. That's absolutely fine. The one handling instruction that I'm going to ask very nicely that you really never use unless it's some super extreme something is the Hotel X-Ray Delta instruction. This essentially is a tracer. And what would happen is every station that interacts with your traffic, with your radiogram, has to send two reports. The first one is, this is who I got it from in its journey. And then the second one, this is who I gave it to in its journey. And that next station is also going to have to send, this is who I got it from. So you wind up with two messages for the same action. And it will have to do that all the way through. And so you create this flood of traffic headed back. And unless it's absolutely necessary, it can bog things down. And one group of folks working on field day, they learned that because they sent their field day traffic with Hotel X-Ray Delta. And not only did it generate a bunch of, we're already trying to work all the increased field day traffic, but now we have to send all these delivery and movement reports and all that while we're doing it, and they got some feedback. So please avoid Hotel X-Ray Delta. Okay, did I beat that one in pretty good? Good, let's keep going. Next box is station of origin. This is the amateur radio operator that is filling in the radiogram. So if you have the blank one and you're coming up with a message or that type of thing, then that's you that goes there. This message could be from anyone, so if it was, say, a friend of yours that wanted to send something and you're taking their message on their behalf, you, being the first one to ever create it, still goes in the station of origin. So that would still be you. The check is basically a count of the number of words in the message itself, and I'll walk through that, how that you come up with that. It's basically just add. I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I have 7 words in here, so the check is 7. It's so that as the message moves, we have a way to kind of test if we might have missed a word or something like that. Like if the check is 7, but I only have 6 words in the blanks, then I know I need to ask what I missed. We do have some shorthands we can use in the message part so that we don't have to constantly write out the same thing we send all the time. So like one of them is greetings by amateur radio. That's ARRL 50. So instead of writing all that out, I just put that shorthand. I'll cover that in more detail in a bit. If we use one or more of those shorthands, then we need to indicate that in the check, and I would just put ARRL in front of the numbers. So if it was 7, but I used an ARRL shorthand, then the check becomes ARRL 7. I'll show some examples of that. Next is place of origin. This is the location of the person authoring the message. So if this is you and your own message, then the place of origin is where you are at. So for me, I'm in Dallas, so I would put Dallas, Texas. If you're taking something for someone else, say you're on the phone with them and could you please send this message through the traffic system for me? And I'm here in Dallas and they're in Irving, Texas, then the place of origin is Irving, Texas. The station of origin is me, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel. I'm the one that's filling in the first radiogram ever for that, but the place of origin is where the message comes from, and that would be Irving in that example. Hopefully that makes sense. And let me know in the chat if I can dive into that a little further. Sometimes that can be a little tricky on that one. But if you're thinking about field day and you're doing these on your own, the station of origin will be your call sign. The place of origin will be where you're at. So if you're at home, then that's your home city and state. If you're at a field day event and you're doing it there, then the place of origin is wherever that field day event is. Time file is another optional thing. This is really only critical if we need to track the time of something. So emergency, priority, or welfare, that's a really good time to use those. And when there's a Hotel X-Ray Bravo instruction, and remember that one is if you don't deliver it within so many hours, then forget it. I got to know how much time has gone by in order to figure that out. So, and that one I definitely put the time. Traffic system uses the 24-hour time format and the universal UTC, universal time. And so if you're not familiar with either or both of those, it's okay, but make sure you've put that in the time filed, that instead of 2100 you'd put 9 p.m. And if it's not universal time, then put the time zone. So Central Daylight Time, Eastern Standard Time, whatever the time zone is, because we need to be able to know that as we're moving it through the system, that it's not universal time. If there's no time zone and there's no AM or PM, we're going to assume universal time and the 24-hour time format. So if it's 9 p.m. and you only put 900, then I'm going to assume that it was 9 earlier universal coordinated UTC universal coordinated time. The date's the same thing. It also uses UTC, but in this one we only write the first 3 letters of the month followed by the date. So for today it's June 20th, so it'd be JUN 20, and I would say it on the air as June 20. Don't need to put the year. Again, if the thing's a year old, we're way beyond it's going to be useful, so no need to worry about the year on that one. Okay, here's how I would read this on the air if I were reading it and filled in every single space. I would say, please copy number 312, routine, Hotel X-ray Golf, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, 12, Dallas, Texas, 2145, January 15. Now notice again, I went slow there. For the rest of these, I'll go a little faster just for sake of time. But again, the other person, imagine on the other end, they're writing it all down. So if you went, okay, number 312, routine, Hotel X-ray Golf, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike, I mean, they're never gonna keep up with that. So nice and slow. I mentioned you could skip a couple of them if you don't need them. When you read it, you just roll right on through like anything else. So I'd say copy number 312, routine, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, 12, Dallas, Texas, January 15. And I don't need to say that I'm skipping anything or anything like that. We're all following the same template and we're all used to this flow. So if you don't give a handling instruction and you just go straight into the call sign, then we're going to know that. All right, question in the chat. After the time, can you put Pacific Standard Time or that type of thing? You would put, if you're not going to use Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC, then yes, definitely put the time zone of wherever you are at and you are putting that time for. So if it was 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, then either put 7:30 p.m. PDT, or you could, if you use a 24-hour time format, 19:30 PDT. But very important to put the time zone if it's not coordinated universal time. Otherwise, that's what's going to be assumed. Are you going to get the traffic police come over? And if you didn't, no, we're not going to do that. But the flow would be to make sure you include the time zone if it's not universal time. Another question: do you need to include the check? Yes, you always have to have the check. This is how we know if we might have missed something in the message part, which I'll go over in just a bit. It's kind of like a checksum. So if I say the check is 12 and I only have 11 words in the message, or I have 13, then okay, what I do, right? I know that I need to ask you, can you help me figure out what I missed or what I add, or was this 2 words instead of 1? Like voicemail, is it 2 words or is it 1 word? Do you normally use a semicolon in military time? For what I'm doing here, no, I just use a colon. And that would be if you're using WinLink to move this traffic and you want to include the time, then I would use a colon there. I wouldn't use a semicolon. Again, the time filed is completely optional. If it was emergency or priority or welfare traffic or had the Bravo handling instruction, then I would include the time. Otherwise, the time doesn't really add any value. Like if I'm sending happy birthday or happy field day or something like that, do I really need to know that you sent it at 6:30 p.m.? It doesn't really add any value to it. And it's just another piece that we have to keep saying that burns that little bit of time. And if you have a lot of little bit of times, then it adds up to a good amount of it. So I would just skip the time filed for the majority of them, unless you're removing something that had that time sensitivity on it. So good questions. Other questions? Please feel free. Hang on, I'm gonna have a little fuel. And we'll keep rolling here. So that's effectively the header. Again, if any questions on that, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll move on to the address part next. This is where it's headed, and it's basically like what you'd put on the outside of an envelope. First, last, their call sign if they have one. And again, they don't need to be an amateur radio operator to receive one of these. So if you had a family member that you wanted to say happy birthday and they don't have an amateur radio license, you are completely welcome to send them some traffic through the traffic system wishing them happy birthday or Merry Christmas or that type of thing. We just need their first, last name, address, and their phone number. The phone number is very important because that's how we do our last mile delivery. So if something were coming back from Michigan back here to Texas for someone here, it would come through the traffic system all the way local here, and then that person that is assigned to, okay, go ahead and take this so you can deliver it, then would pick up the phone and make that delivery. If we don't have a phone number, then it can complicate things because other options would be I'm going to drive to their house, and I could throw it in the mail, but then the station has to spend the money on the postage and things, and we don't ask stations to spend their own funds for this. Some choose to. I put them in the mail personally because I choose to, but there is absolutely no ask for that. But the phone number is definitely helpful to include in there. You can use email. We like it and we don't, is how I'm going to put that. We would rather do the delivery by phone. That way we know it got delivered. And if we're thinking in a real world situation where you've got some welfare traffic to say, I'm okay in this area, if it came out of that disaster area and we're going to send it by email, then we don't really know, did they get it? Do they know? Do they want to send something back or anything? Right? You just kind of send the email and poof, it's gone. With the phone call, it gives that personal touch to make sure that that thing was actually delivered to its recipient and that they've got it. If you absolutely have no phone number, then putting an email is better than putting nothing. So phone number very much preferred, but if it's got to be an email, you could do it. But you got to write it out. So if it was jane.doe@example.com, you need to chunk it out exactly like that. Jane, and then D-O-T, doe, at or at sign, example.com. And so that would flow exactly through the traffic system like anything else. And then when it gets to its local area, then they would do the delivery by email. But again, we lose that personal touch on it. Does the phone have to be marked cell or home, or are they all phone calls and not texts? They will all generally be a phone call. The ham that takes that on to deliver would pick up the phone and make that phone delivery. If it's if someone answers and, hi, are you so and such, I have this for you, then they'll go ahead and deliver it. If they get a voicemail box, then they'll listen to see if the greeting confirms it's the right person. Sometimes we'll get these messages that, hi, welcome to the hobby, because they're monitoring the database and they just find the phone number for one of the online phone book tools. And so if the voicemail is just some generic, leave a message or something like that, then they'll mention that they've got the message, but they won't consider it delivered because they don't know if it's the right number or not. But if the voicemail greeting says, hi, this is Sally, and you're sending it to Sally, then they'll know that that's the right mailbox, and they'll go ahead and do it. That's how we move them over the phone. You can put some specific instructions on that if you want. I'll cover that in just a second once we get through the address part. So let's say we wanted to send this to Jane Doe in some town, Wisconsin. That would translate into the radiogram exactly as I had it written there. And the way I would read this on the air, I would say to Jane Doe, I spell Delta Oscar Echo, amateur call, Alpha Romeo 1 Tango, address figures 123, mixed group 85 Tango Hotel, street, southeast, some town, Wisconsin, zip figures 00121, phone figures 330-555-4424. Break. Okay, so we got some pro words in there. That's our introduction to pro words. I spell means you're about to spell out the word that you just said. And this is helpful for last names just to make sure that there's clarity on the last name. I generally always spell last names. You could spell a first name if it would help as well. John, is it Jon? Is it John? The key thing is if you're going to spell it, make sure you indicate you're going to spell it right away. So I wouldn't say dough, I spell, because with that gap, they've probably already written something down. So I would say dough, I spell, Delta, Oscar, Echo. Image call means you're about to give a call sign. Address figures, zip figures, phone figures. Figures means you're about to give a set of numbers. Mixed group means it's going to be a mix of letters and numbers. Direction for the cardinal directions, direction south, direction southeast, direction northwest. And then break. This can be one of those fun ones because on some nets they'll say if you have emergency or priority traffic at any time, say break, break, followed by your call sign. And so it kind of creates this association that break means I have an emergency or something. In this case, break means you're going to pause. And that pause gives the other station an opportunity to come back and ask if they need you to spell anything or say this again, I missed it, or anything like that. Once they're all ready to go, they'll tell you to go or go ahead, go text, and that'll tell you you can move on to the next section. And I'll go through the flow of a whole thing at once, but that's how this component would work. Now, you mentioned about could we do texts or things. If you wanted to have something done that way, you can include what's called an operator note here, or an op note. And this op note relates to how the message is handled or delivered. So if you wanted it to go by text, you could say op note, deliver by text OK, or something like that. There's another place where we can include an op note, and it's related to how to send replies back or things, and we'll cover that later. But in this op note, this relates to the delivery. So, for example, if you gave someone's work phone number and you put, workday only, then that helps the delivering ham know, well, don't bother calling on the weekend or something. They're not going to be there. Just try during normal business hours. That's it for the address part. This next part is pretty easy because you should generally never need to fill this in. This is only helpful if you're going to drop the thing in the mail or something like that, or if you've been part of an emergency or a simulation. Then I would put my information there to say I'm the ham that was filling this in and working on this radiogram at this point. Outside of that, I don't need to put that when it's in my own records or things. So again, the only time I fill this in is if I'm going to drop it in the mail. I want to do mail delivery, and I'd like them to know who I am and that type of thing in case they have any questions. So effectively, you can skip that part. Okay, up next is the text. This is where your message goes. We've got 25 blanks in here, and so we very kindly ask that you keep it within the 25. And going back to that keep it concise thing, I like to think of it as $5 a word. So for every time you fill in a word, it's $5. And the idea with that is, do I need to spend the $5 or $10 to say it, or can I save that money for something else? Because again, the shorter we can make it, the more concise, then the more effectively traffic can flow overall. So let's say I want to send this: great seeing you yesterday. Hope to get together again soon. 73. For punctuation, we have to call those out as a separate word or group. And so periods, for example, are written as either the letter X, set as initial X-ray on the air, or the word X-ray. If it was a question, how are you, then you could write query for the question mark. Exclamation points or exclamation. You don't really see those that often. The majority is either initial X-ray or the word X-ray, but be aware that those other punctuations exist. And so here's how this would transfer onto the radiogram. Great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray. Hope to get together again soon, figures 7-3. You'll notice I don't have an X-ray between soon and 73. Again, thinking of that $5 a blank, I know that the sentence ended after soon and 73. I don't need to spend the $5 to indicate that. Now, if it was like a date, on August 10th, 73, well, then I might want that extra clarity that the 7-3 is not part of the of that that date, and so I would put an initial X-ray there and spend the $5 for that clarity there. Oops, I went back by accident. Come on, forward. So here's how I would say this part on the air. And again, I would pause a lot more, but I want to keep this moving. Great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray. Hope to get together again soon. Figures 7-3. Break. This is our second break to allow that other station to say, I need you to say something again, or I need you to spell, or that type of thing. And here are some of those pro words for that. Initial or initials or letter groups some folks use for giving initials. So like NTS, the National Traffic System, initials November Tango Sierra. Say again, if you miss something, please say again word before yesterday. Please say again all after together, which means you went too fast and they just kind of did this number, and so go slower next time, type of thing. We like affirmative or negative over yes or no. Same thing on public safety. They're just longer words, so we can more easily catch them on the air. It's easier to understand affirm if it's longer versus a quick yes or no. And then correction. If you make a mistake, then you can correct it. Great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray. Hope correction to. I say again, hope to get together. You can fix those as you're reading it on the air, and you just say correction, and then we keep rolling, type of thing. So that's it for the text. We'll jump into the signature. It's right below the text section and above where you track it. No label there, but that's where it goes. And generally, this is just the name, and if they have one, a call sign of the person that authored the message. And so for me, I'd put Aaron Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel there. The way I would say it on the air, signed Aaron, amateur call, Kilo 8, Alpha, Mike, Hotel. End number 312, no more, how copy. They got a couple more pro words there. End means that's the end of this radiogram. There's a thing called book traffic. I'll cover that in a second. No more or one more or two more is basically an indicator of how many other radiograms you have left to move. So if you tell the net control station I have one to Michigan and one to Georgia and one to Florida, and they say, okay, this station pick up the Georgia and Florida, then you would send the Georgia and then say, okay, that's the end of that one. I have one more. How copy this one? And then you'd move the one to Florida, if that makes sense. How copy is asking, did you understand everything I said, or do you need any fills or repeats or anything like that? And if they've got it, they'll tell you I Roger your number 312 or something like that. This is the second spot for op notes. This one deals with replies or servicing. So if someone wants to send a response back, or you need to send I couldn't deliver it because the phone number is disconnected or something like that, and you don't want it to go back to the station of origin or something like that, you could put this op note here, such as reply or service to KE5YTA. I'll show a real world example of that. That's used by Peter DL4FN in Germany. When he has messages come here to Dallas, if something needs to go back to Peter, he has Roger KE5YTA pick those up and move it in his direction to Germany. Phew, okay, last part. That's effectively the radiogram. At that point, you filled it in and you're ready to move it. The received and sent info, this is your tracking so that you can track who did you get it from and or who did you send it on to as it keeps moving. Again, this is this 24-hour time format UTC. And so let's say I sent this one that we just put together to Roger on January 16th at 4:40 UTC, then that's exactly what goes in sent to KE5YTA. I like to track the net that I did it on, but that's an optional thing. And then the date, Jan 16, and the time 0440. And so I have that record of here's who I gave it to as it's making its journey into the traffic system. And so this is how the final thing that we just walked through looks. And let me see if I can zoom in on it a little bit to make it a little bigger. And so, yeah, number 312 routine, the origin, the date, and who it's headed to, our message text, my signature and who I gave it to on the air. Any questions on how we got to this point or anything I can clarify? If someone's feverishly typing away, then I'll jump back. But I mentioned book traffic earlier. So what if we have the same message that's going to several people? Like, let's say you want to tell 3 family members Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We call that book traffic because it's the same message on each one. It's just going to different destinations. And the nice part of that is we only need to say that message part one time, and the other common parts, and then the unique part, which would be the message number, because each message has its own number, and where it's headed to, that would be the only parts that we need to read. All right, a couple things in the chat. Are there printed cheat sheets we can download? Yes, so I have kind of a reference guide on my webpage. I'll put the link in the chat here, k8amh.com/handouts, and that's plural. And let me, hang on here, I didn't do that right. So there, now everybody should have it. And so there'll be a PDF handout that has like the handling instructions and the ARRL shorthands I'm going to cover, that I'm going to cover in a bit, and that type of thing. For the time I gave is 0440. Should it be 0440? Yeah, that's how you would say it on the air, 0440. So yes, that's right. You would give each number individually. You wouldn't do like, I wouldn't say this is message number 312 or message number 312 or something. I would say this is message number 312. It's the same thing with the time. Give them one digit at a time type of thing. The check. So this is so we can make sure that we've, just a second, I'm trying to zoom in on this so it's a little easier to see while I'm explaining it. This is so we have a way to kind of test if we got every part of the message text. So if I look in here, I've got a row of 5 and then a row of 5 and then 2. So 5, 10, 11, 12 words or 12 groups down here in this message section, and so that's why the check is 12 or 1, 2. And so if I were getting this from somebody and they told me the check is 1, 2, and I just copied "Great seeing you yesterday, initial X-ray, hope to get together again, figure 7, 3, well then I only count to 11 and I'll go, okay, I think I missed something, let's figure out what I missed. And I missed the word soon. Okay, got it. Now the check is 12, I'm good to go, and then we can keep going. So no, that's a good question. Yeah. Any other questions, again, feel free to throw them in there. Okay, we've covered book traffic, so we'll keep going. Now the shorthands that I talked about. And again, these are for some common things that we'll see. So here's a real world message that's come in. Maybe some of you have received one of these. This is from Lauren, N1IQI, up in over in Massachusetts. ARRL 56, new amateur radio license, initial X-ray. Welcome to the hobby, initial X-ray. Enjoy the fun and friendships you will make. Initial X-ray, figure 7-3. It's a $5 we didn't need to spend, but okay. So I can already tell you this says, congratulations on your new amateur radio license, a most worthy and deserved achievement. Because that's what this ARRL 56 stands for. Let me tell you how I got there. These, again, shorthands give a way to say some of the more common things without having to burn all the spaces on the message text. When you do deliver it to the person on the phone, tell them what it is. Like I would say, I've got this message for you, and it says ARRL 56, and I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. So, translate it for them. And again, if we use one or more of these shorthands, then we put that in the check. The check would become ARRL 12. It's kind of a heads up that there are some shorthands in this text. Link for shorthands. That is also in my handout. So if you go to k8amh.com/handouts, I've got them there. Sean's just thrown it in there as well. The ARRL has that list. Imagine that they'd have it. But I also have a separate page on my webpage. That's all is on that page. It's the shorthands and things. So there's lots of good places that you can grab that list. Here are some of the common ones. So 47 relates to delivery. So I delivered your message number 1 to this call sign on this date at this time. ARRL 50, greetings by amateur radio. And then 56, the one we saw, congratulations on your new amateur radio license, a most worthy and deserved achievement. 67 is if we couldn't deliver, so your message number 5, undeliverable because of phone number disconnected. It says please advise, but sometimes you just won't hear anything back on that. But it's good to let the station know that you weren't able to deliver it and why. So again, on this one, congratulations on your, and then we fill in the blank with what comes right after that, ARRL shorthand. So new amateur radio license goes in the blank. Congratulations on your new amateur radio license, a most worthy and deserved achievement. And I know that that's the end of what I need to put in the blank because there's an X-ray here to give me that separation between the rest of it. When you use shorthands, we spell out the numbers, and that's to clarify that they are part of the shorthand. So 50 is FIFTY and 6 is SIX. The way I say this on the air, initials Alpha Romeo Lima, 50 I spell Foxtrot India Foxtrot Tango Yankee, 6 I spell Sierra India X-ray. We spell them out when we give them. Again, it's to make sure that it's clear that these are part of the shorthand. And so we spell them out to better indicate that it is the written out word 50 rather than figures 50, if that makes sense. All right, so we'll go through a couple more examples, and then we should be able to get some practice here. So on this one, let me zoom in here. This is a real world one that I put in the mail. That's why the rest of this is all filled in. So ARRL 50 John, and congrats on new amateur radio license. That's greetings by amateur radio John, and congrats on new amateur radio license. Enjoy all that the radio community offers. Best regards. And here we have our op note reply or service message to Peter, DL4FN, via Roger, KE5YTA, in Richardson, Texas, in the zip code. This is so that if someone needs to send something back to Peter, right, like if I'm here in Texas and I got to send this to Germany, it could be pretty interesting to try and figure out how am I supposed to route this all the way to Germany from North Texas. But this op note gives us that clue that if I need to send something back to Peter, like I couldn't deliver it or something, here are my instructions to get that routed back to him, and that makes it much easier for this kind of unique setup where it's going back to Germany rather than say back to Michigan or something like that. Question: do you say spell out before you start or after each word? Here's let me just read this one. Initials Alpha Romeo Lima, 50 I spell Foxtrot India Foxtrot Tango Yankee. So you say what it is and then indicate you're going to spell it. I could do the same thing with John, and so let me go all the way through that. Initials Alpha Romeo Lima, 50 I spell Foxtrot India Foxtrot Tango Yankee. John I spell Juliet Oscar Hotel November, and congrats, right? And then roll through on the rest of it. So that's how you would do that one if you needed to spell it out. Now, if there's something that you don't spell and the other station needs you to spell it, they'll ask. They'll say, "Can you please spell John?" Or word number 3 if they really had no clue because it's in the 3rd position. But that would be how I would do that. Okay. Any other questions? Again, feel free to throw them in the chat. So I'm trying to keep an eye on it. Here's another example. Again, this one is from Peter. Hello, Gary. Congrats on your new amateur radio license. Ask delivering ham for more info about this message. Best wishes. And we didn't use any shorthands in this one, so there's no ARRL here. If I go back to the other one, it's ARRL 21 because we used the ARRL shorthand here. And again, in this one, no shorthand, so the check is just 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23. Same op note because this is going back to Peter that same way. Question in the chat: if you are delivering by phone, do you need address included in the address section? Yes, please. It helps us with routing. So if I need to get this message to Wisconsin, the address being in Wisconsin, then I'll know that that's the area it needs to head to. If there's no address, then I'm kind of blind. And if you just include, like, let's say there is a call sign, and we'll go look on QRZ, then if I'm in the middle of a disaster, I'm probably not going to be able to look it up on QRZ because I'm probably working off of a Go box with the generator on the side and the wire up in whatever closest tree or something I have. So to get that muscle memory and things, and also to help it flow effectively through the traffic system, the address is important. So I would definitely include the address along with everything else. All right, so we'll do a little bit of hands-on. If you printed out the radiogram template, you can go ahead and grab that. I'm going to have you try and fill one out, and then I'll show it to you as how it should look, and then we could see if you have any questions or if I can clarify, well, why did that go there or that type of thing. So try putting together a message from you to me, and there's my information for the address part and the message that you can send. Hope to hear you on the band soon, 73. And you can make up whatever message number you want. It's kind of up to you. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And in the meantime, if folks do have questions, you can throw them in the chat. I will keep caffeinating here. And again, this is your first one, and you got something you need clarified. That's great. That's what this is all for, is to help you build and learn and grow. So give it a go, and we'll see what you got. And if there's anything I can clarify, then we can jump into that. All right, we'll give it another minute here just to make sure you have a good amount of time. And again, if you finish up, if you have a question, feel free to throw it in the chat, and I can try and get that answered for you here while we have a quick moment. So the question, did I send my handout and stuff in email? I've had the links in a couple of places, but when this is all set, I will work to get the video uploaded on YouTube so that you can come back and watch this session if you'd like. And I will include some links to some other various resources that you can use, including where you can download the handout and things like that. If you want to go try and find them now, Kilo 8 alphamikehotel.com/handouts, plural, and I'll put that in the chat again. Okay. And someone keep me honest if I put a bad link there, tell me. But that'll have, the handouts page has 3 different files on it. The first one is the reference guide. So it has the ARRL shorthands and the handling instructions and things like that. The other 2 are 2 different versions of the radiogram form. One that's just a straight up print it out and you've got it. The second one is a fillable PDF. So if you want to be able to just type it in on screen and fill in the boxes, you could use that one if you wanted. It's kind of up to you. There's no you must use this way or this type of thing to do things. I use computer software to track mine now, but I started by doing them by hand. I think there's a lot that you learn from doing things by hand first, rather than having a computer or something, automate or do things for you. For me, the act of I've grabbed the pen and I'm physically just helps me to learn it and hang on to it. The retention is just much better. So as you're starting out, I would highly recommend handwriting things, and then when you get the skill set down, then jump over to electronic means or something. Because even think of it this way: if you're in the disaster, you're going to probably be very happy to just have the radio and the generator and the antenna to throw up there. You're probably not going to have a computer. You're going to have a pen, and you're going to have some blank paper or lined paper or something. And trust me, you do this long enough, you'll know how to fill these out, by memory type of thing. So, but you'll want to have that manual skill set down in case you really, really need it. So, all right, we've had a good amount of time there. I'm going to move forward, and so let me get the zooming going here. This is effectively what you should have. Message number 1, routine, and then your call sign, a check of 9 or niner, today's date, and then 2, my name, call sign, address, phone number, and then the message, and then your name and your call sign. So here's how this would be read on the air. My number 1, routine, A1BCD, niner, and then the location, so Fake Town, Michigan. Today's date, June. Oh, what is today? June 19er? June 20. June 20. It's not yesterday anymore. 2, Aaron Hewlett. I spell Hotel Uniform Lima Echo Tango Tango. Amateur call Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel. Address initials Papa Oscar. Box figures 479er. Little Elm, Texas. Zip figures 75068, phone figures 469er 630-2528. Break, and then I'd let up and wait to see if you need me to say anything again, or if you tell me go. And then if you tell me go, hope to hear you on the bands soon, figures 7-3. Break. And then again, I'd wait for you to come back with, please say again or please spell or things. And then once you say go or go ahead, go signature, signed, Janet, Alpha 1, Bravo Charlie Delta, end of number 1, no more how copy. And then I'd say, Roger, you're number 1 or that type of thing. So anybody have any questions on how we got to this? Is going from here's what I want to send to here's how it translates into the radiogram itself. And I'll pause for a second, just again, caffeine excuse, and also to give you some time to type anything into the chat if you need it. Oh, it lists the place of origin. Yeah, it's, whoops, I didn't mean to go forward. Because I don't know where you are in your call sign, I should have put, fill this in like I did with your call sign, put your place or something like that. But, fill in the place of origin for sure. The handling instruction and then the time filed are both optional. The handling instruction, again, only if there's something in particular there that you want to put on that traffic. And the time filed is really only important if it's time-sensitive traffic, like emergency traffic or the Hotel X-Ray Bravo instruction that says deliver within 5 hours. And so that's how. That's the only time I would fill in the time filed. Otherwise, this is just a burner. I wouldn't spend the $5 if I can use that here for that. Can we get examples of forms filled out and how they are read? I think I have a couple more coming up, and I can walk through those as well. And I tell you what, I will quickly go back to some of those other examples I had, just in case I don't have any in the future. All right, come on here. So again, I'm going to read this a lot faster than I normally would, just for time. But here's how I would read this one. Number 209er, routine, Delta Lima 4 Foxtrot November, Alpha Romeo Lima 21, Urbach Delta Echo Uniform, February 2, going to some name, some call sign, some address, some phone number. Break, then I get to go ahead. Initials Alpha Romeo Lima, 50 I spell Foxtrot India Foxtrot Tango Yankee, John, and congrats on new amateur radio license X-ray. Enjoy all that the radio community offers. X-ray, best regards. Break, Then I wait again, and he fills, or, go ahead. Signed, Peter, Amateur Call, Delta Lima 4, Foxtrot, November, op note, reply, or service message to Amateur Call, Delta Lima 4, Foxtrot, November, via Amateur Call, Kilo Echo 5, Yankee Tango Alpha, Richardson, Texas, zip figures 75080. End number 209, no more, how copy. So that's how that one would flow. Question in the chat. Two questions, and it's kind of the same question. So excellent. Why don't we use the initial X-ray, or why is it X-ray and not the initial X, like the single X? Either one of them is a period. So it's kind of up to you. Do you want it to be the initial X-ray or the word X-ray? But if you are reading it to me and you say X-ray, even though it's just the letter X, I'm going to write the whole word X-ray because you said X-ray, and so I will write X-ray just as you told it to me. If it's the initial X-ray, and again we're going word for word, letter for letter, then initial X-ray, then I'm just going to write the letter X, that single initial, because that's how you're saying it to me. Is it disastrous if the initial X-ray becomes the word X-ray? Probably not. But again, we want the thing to arrive exactly as it started as much as we can. So if you tell me initial X-ray, then I'm going to put initial X-ray. If you tell me the word X-ray, I'm writing the whole thing out because that's how you're reading it to me. Is there a way to put a code number at the end to request a response back? That would go in the handling instruction, and that's Hotel X-ray Charlie. That handling instruction, is that Charlie? Oh, somebody keep me honest. Am I forgetting? We're on slide 70. Let me see if I can go back. I know how this is going to work. Someone's going to tell me as soon as I get there. Because that's how that's going to go. Yeah, it's echo. As I say, Charlie doesn't sound right. So let me get this back in focus if I can get in here. Yeah, so Hotel X-ray Echo would be delivering stations should ask for a reply from the addressee and then originate a message back with the reply. So if you wanted to get a reply, you could even put it in a text and say, please send me a reply, but you can put Hotel X-ray Echo and just have Echo in that handling instruction, and that would get you where you can get that reply back from that station. Place of origin, you didn't spell out Urbach, only DEU. And so for us in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Peter sends a good amount of traffic here. And so we've kind of heard this about 5,000 times. And so it's one of those, I know the other person already knows how to spell this. And so you can kind of use that to your advantage as you get more involved with traffic nets that, as folks, hear the same thing over and over with kind of some of these, regular messages that come in that we already know that like Peter, I know Peter knows, or that Richard knows where Peter lives. And so I don't necessarily need to, give all of that information. And when Roger gives this to us from Peter, we already know where Urbach, Germany is because we've heard it about 5 million times. So it's just one of those, I didn't spell it because I already know, and a lot of us on the net know. But if there's something that you think that folks aren't going to know how to spell, then you can spell it. Urbach, I spell Echo Romeo Bravo Alpha Charlie Hotel, initials Delta Echo Uniform, if you needed to do it that way. All right, let me catch up, see if there's anything else in here. Place of origin, I got that one. Does the echo go in group words? So the question, is that for the handling instruction, the Hotel X-ray Echo? If I wanted, like, let's say Peter wanted to reply on this one, and forgive my handwriting because I got to try and draw on the screen while this is in an awkward place, then I would just put an echo there. And then I would read it as number 209er routine, Hotel X-ray Echo, Delta Lima 4, Foxtrot November. Sometimes some folks don't say Hotel X-ray, so they just might go 209er, routine, Echo, Delta Lima 4. The, some nets, I like to say, have a personality to them, just kind of how those amateur radio operators have worked together over time and how they've kind of set up how they run across it. So normally I'll say Hotel X-ray as kind of the heads up that I'm about to give a handling instruction. But on some nets, they don't burn the time to say Hotel X-ray. And so like I would suggest with any net, it's a good idea to listen for a time or two and get a feel for how that net runs before jumping in on it, if that makes sense there. But again, on this one, if I wanted that reply, I would just put echo there. In Morse code net, use only echo. Yeah, I am not proficient in Morse code, so for that lay of the land, I do not pretend to be an expert. With Morse code, there's a lot of efficiencies there and those types of things. So again, if you're headed that way, listen. That's the big thing there. I don't need to keep those. All right. Let's keep rolling here. These are good questions. We're going to, I think, push time a little bit, but no, these are good questions. I want to make sure I get them answered for you. And if anything else, feel free to jump in. So participating in the traffic net, again, they'll all have their own personalities, and I've kind of modeled this over the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex traffic net, but the general flow is the same. The net will begin with some preamble, hello, welcome to the traffic net, my name is, and I'll be your net control station, and they give some instructions to you. Then they'll take check-ins, and in our case, we check in if you have traffic, please come with your call sign phonetically, and if you have no traffic, then check in with you. And then once we have all of that set, then the relaying begins, where we move things between stations. And so here's a real-world example of how you could have stations check into the traffic net. So in this case, I was the net control station, and then the next station that checked in had one radiogram, one piece of traffic going to Bowie, Texas. The next station, W9VE Don, did not have any traffic, but he could act as that bridge, that liaison between our local traffic net in Dallas with the Texas net, the larger area net, right? So when we do things at the local level and we have something going out of area, then we look, how can we move it out? And that's what this liaison list here helps us to understand, is what are our capabilities at this moment to move things in and out of this area. Roger, KE5YTA, he can take things to the digital traffic net. In this case, he had a book of 5, so it's the same 5 messages going to 5 different destinations. 2 of them were in Dallas, one was in Plano, one was in Prosper, and one was in Melissa. Then John, KF5IOU, also can take things to and from digital, and he had a book of 3 for North Richland Hills, Crum, and Corinth, and he had one, or what we call a single, but he had one going to Burleson that was completely separate from that book, so it had a completely different message in it. And then Corky, KG5NNA, had a net report. We track how long the nets run and how many messages move during them and things like that. And naturally, how do we turn in our reports? Well, we do it through the traffic net, right? Why would we do it through email when we could do it over the traffic net? So this list here gives me a complete picture of what are people bringing, and what are my capabilities to move things? Now, if I had something going to Michigan, but I didn't have any liaisons that could take it out of this area, then I can't move it out of this area. And I would ask that station, well, can you hold on to that traffic for a future net? Again, we're kind of volunteering and things, and so sometimes you just run into that where, we just don't have the capability to do it. Now, if we were stood up for an emergency or an incident, then you bet we're going to be a lot more hands-on and get in and have things ready to go. So, if we were in an incident, we were moving lots of traffic around, we'll have those people there. But any questions on how this kind of tracking by the net control station helps flow things in and out and that type of thing, feel free to throw them in the chat. So when we go to move traffic, I'll just quickly summarize this to keep moving. The net control station would say, you please call the other station and pick up their traffic. And then they'd say, okay, I'm ready to copy, go ahead. And then you'd say, okay, thank you for taking my number and the message number and the header, the whole address and break. And they tell you to go ahead. And then you would read the text to break, and they'd tell you to go signature, and then you would sign it. And they would say, "I Roger your whatever number," and you'd say, "Thanks for taking it. Let me, identify with my call sign and keep the FCC happy, and turn it back to net control." We'll go over that where I'm going to actually send something to all of you and have you write it down, and we'll go through that flow together. I've already kind of read this one, so I don't think I need to do it again. And I think, again, when I actually send one to you, this is going to, I think, make more sense by giving you the hands-on. So why don't we jump straight into that? If you've got a blank radiogram handy, I've got one that I'm ready to send to all of you. And then we're going to, this will kind of reach the end of what I've got in the PowerPoint. And we can go through some of the kind of the field day specifics and things, because I'm sure that's a lot of interest right now. So if you've got your radiograms ready and things, what effectively would happen during the net is the net control station would tell you to please contact me to pick up one piece of traffic headed to your station. And then you would come in and say, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, this is your call sign. I'm ready to copy your traffic, or I'm ready to copy, or something like that. And I would say, your call sign, K8AMH, and thank you so much for taking this from me. It's number 404, routine, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, 15, Dallas, Texas, June 20, going to your station. Break. Now at this point, you'd either come back and say, please say again the check, or something like that. Otherwise, if you have everything, you would say go, or go ahead, or go text, something like that. And now notice I don't have to give you your name and your call sign and your address and your phone number. I'm pretty sure you know all of that already. So I would just say going to your station and leave it as simple as that. So, all right. So let's pretend somebody said to go. Thank you for attending this training, initial X-ray. Hope you have a fun field day. Figures 7-3. Break. And again, at this point, you would tell me to go ahead, go signature, or please say again word after attending, or something like that. But again, we'll say, that you're telling me to go. Signed, Aaron, amateur call, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel. End, number 404, no more. How copy? And then you come back and tell me, I Roger your 404, or, I completely ignored you, and whatever, I don't know, whatever you want. But here's how this should generally look, except I put the word June all by itself, and I realized that while we were in mid-flight. I'm like, I bet I wrote the whole word June there rather than Jun. So there you go. But this is generally how this should look. Number 404, routine, R for routine, my call sign, because I'm the one that originated the very first one. And again, this does not change while it moves through the system. This always indicates who wrote the original message. I got to know how to get a hold of them. So this information that you're looking at right here will never change while this is in transit. This will always be what it is while it's moving. But check 15 Dallas, Texas, June with no E, 20, and then your call sign, or wherever you wrote that there, and then thank you for attending this training, and the letter X, hope you have a fun field day, 73, and then sign my name there. And then if you were tracking this, then you would put received from Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel on June 20, and what is the UTC time right now? 2023. So something along there like that. Did anybody have any questions on how this was formed and how it got copied? Did you have any differences or questions on how something was read on the air versus how you wrote it down, or anything like that? more caffeine. Or I should just lie to everybody and say it's water, but it's, all right. If any questions, feel free to throw them in there. This is effectively the end of the deck. Oh, we have will place of origin always remain the same as station of origin. So, quick answer is yes. Let's say I filled this out and it's headed to Michigan, and I give this to Roger, and then Roger gives it to someone else, and then that someone else keeps it moving. The caffeine probably cold by now. It's okay. I'm making it work. Okay, so yeah, I'm moving it to Michigan. All of the information that I have on screen right now will stay exactly the same all the way through the system. The number will not change, the precedence will not change, the handling instruction will not change. None of this will change. Everything stays the same. Again, we're going to the Xerox, and the carbon copy of it. The only things that adjust are your information if you somehow need to track this, whether it's for you're sending it in the mail or it's being turned in as part of an exercise or a disaster or something, and I need to know who filled this in. Or this received and sent info, like I give it to Roger, so Roger would put my information in received because he got it from me, and then whatever station he relays it to next would go in this sent. But the rest of this all stays the same throughout its journey. It has to stay exactly the same. Hopefully that clarifies. Let me know if I can dive in further on that one, and let me catch up on the chat here. Why did they change from the green and yellow? I do not know. So that piece of that that nugget of information has not dropped here. So I don't know why they changed it. I think if you still buy the pads, they're that color. But if you're like getting the PDF, but I wouldn't want you to burn all that yellow printing out the yellow background and green with your ink or things like that. I would I'd give you black and white, but if you order them from ARRL, I believe they are still that same color. Shows you how often I order them. I do everything electronic now, so I don't order them. I just do everything in software now. How do we know where this message is going? If its destination was not us in this case, and we were just relaying it, would the to be the final destination? That's absolutely right. So if the final destination was a person in Michigan, then I would have their name and call sign if they have one, and their address and their phone number here. And again, that won't change as it's moving through the traffic system. That's how this flows towards its destination, is from this address part of where it's headed to. You should never be handed a piece of traffic that never has this information. What you see on here is what you should get at a minimum. The only other two pieces of information that could be on here additionally are a handling instruction and or a time filed. Otherwise, everything else on here, this is a completed radiogram that's ready to move through the system. Everything here should be filled in. Can you get examples as a handout, including how it is read and sent? I am going to put this video up on YouTube later today. So I will send the email out with a link to this video that kind of walks through everything that we've talked about. We'll walk through everything we talked about. It will be everything we talked about. So you'll have the video there with everything we've talked about, including the walkthroughs we've done. On my webpage, kilo8alphamikehotel.com, there is an NTS training section, and it's broken down into chunks like the radiogram and then how to move it on the air. So there's a walkthrough with the bubbles of this person says this and that person says that to flow through how it goes. So you can use those resources to roll through on how these things are read, type of thing. Let me see. So do we ask for an address if wanting an echo response? So let's say I got that thing from, it could be from Peter or from anybody, and now I've made the phone call and I deliver it and it has the echo instruction for me to get a reply. because that other person is a ham, right, that station of origin, it doesn't matter if it's from someone that's not a ham or whatever, there will be a station of origin, the first person to fill in the radiogram. That's where I'm going to send the reply to. And so I could go look up their information in the FCC database or QRZ or something like that would be where I'd pull that. Me being that station that's creating it to go back, I would go look that up before injecting it into the system. But if it's coming in through the system to you, it'll always have the address there. If you need to send a reply back, then yeah, go look up where it's headed back to online and fill in the information. You probably won't get a phone number on that. So like, let's say I send something out and they're going to send something back. Because we're active in the traffic system, when it comes back here to Dallas, I'm going to be checked into the traffic net and I'm going to grab it on the traffic net. So you don't need to include a phone number because nobody will need to call me. I'm going to be on the traffic net and someone's going to say, I've got a piece of traffic for you, and I'll pick it up. So there's no need for a phone call. I will pick it up directly over the air. All right. When you're reporting back with an answer to the original traffic message, does all the info stay the same in the return message header? It will be a brand new message. So let's say I sent this one to you, 404 and all this, and let's say you wanted to send something back to me, then the message number in that would be whatever your next message number is, routine, I hope. Station of origin is you. The check is however many groups that you've filled in down here. Place of origin is where you're at. The date filed is the date that you've put it into the traffic system. So this would be a brand new radiogram with the header from your station on it. And then that's what would flow through the traffic system like that. And then that's how, like, once I get it, if for some reason I did have a question, then I know, hey, I have a question on your number 5. And I know it's yours because you're in the station of origin and that type of thing. That's how I can get back to whoever first brought it into the system type of thing, if that makes sense. Okay, let me catch up here some more on the chat. You're reporting probably for the station we're operating. For the received section, if we aren't operating from our ARRL call sign associated address, we put the address of where the message is received. So that's not what I wanted to do. Again, I would only, just to be clear, I would only put this information in if it was something I was going to put in the mail, or if it was part of an exercise or some sort of disaster assistance or something like that. If I'm at home, then that's what I would put here. If I'm at the emergency operations center and I'm getting something like this, then I would put the emergency operations center here. I would put where I'm physically at for that. Yeah, that's a good question. Trying to think what I'm going to be bombarded with traffic. That's absolutely fine. Please feel free to send me some traffic, and if you do, I could very happily I'll send you something back, type of thing. And for field day, if you're looking for places to send things, I can give you a resource there. But let me first see if any other questions on this. This is kind of the end of the normal part. Now we'll jump into the field day part next. But any other quick questions, and then I'm gonna try and give you as fast as I can any of the field day details. And again, if you need to drop off for things, again, I'm gonna put this up on YouTube, and I'll send the link out later this evening once I maybe butcher it in the editor or something. I don't know, but I'll get it all online and get the link out to everybody. So, okay, let me keep jumping in on that. Again, any questions, feel free to jump in. So field day, let me start with the rules because, these are fun, and get straight into where these bonus points come in. So this first one is messages to your section manager or section emergency coordinator. And this is a 100-point bonus. So you can send a piece of traffic to either of them. So here in North Texas, you could send it to Steve Lott Smith, the section manager, or you could send it to Greg Evans, the section emergency coordinator. I, as the section traffic manager, don't count for this bonus. So don't send one for me for this one. It won't count for this one. It can count for the other one, but not for this one. So pick one of them, and then you would put together the radiogram just like you would any other piece of traffic. I know it says here that you should include the club name and participants and all these things. The key word here is should. And I have verified this with headquarters in Connecticut that this really is the word should rather than must. So if you do not know your number of participants and there's no field day located, that's fine. You can send a message to your section manager that says, hi. And that's it. It could just be one word. I mean, it's kind of whatever you want to put there. So if you don't know all these details, then that's absolutely fine. If you do know them and can include them, go for it. But there's no requirement on this. The requirements, though, very much are the message has to be transmitted during field day. You'll need to submit a copy of it when you turn in your field day report at the end of field day. This has to use the radiogram format, so what we just covered. Otherwise, you won't get any credit. And then the last part, this has to go over the air. If you were thinking of using WinLink, which I'll show you as well for stations that have WinLink set up, it has to go over the air. So WinLink does have a telnet function, but if you move this over telnet, then it doesn't count for the points. This all has to be an over-the-air function. And when you think about it, you're in an emergency. Are you going to have internet? So we want it to go over the air because that's very likely going to be the real-world scenario, that we got to move this all over the air. So you have to move it over the air. The next one are the general message handling points. You get 10 points for each message up to 100 points, so 10 messages. And again, you have to include copies of these with your field day report. Your earlier message to the section manager or the section emergency coordinator don't count under that. So that one is one all by itself. And then you've got 10 more. So you would have a total of 11 radiograms or 11 pieces of traffic, one of them going to the section manager or section emergency coordinator, the other 10 going to whoever you want, although ideally they would be people that you know, rather than just some random, you sent them to some random or whatever, hi, I've got this message for you from someone you have no idea who they are, and here's what it says, happy field day, they're like, what? So, send them to someone you know. Let me open this up for you. That's the wrong page. Groups.io/ARRL NTS. I will include this in the email. We have a discussion group /email list up on groups.io for the National Traffic System, and you're very welcome to join it. And I'll give you the link in the email afterwards. We have a list on here of stations that have agreed to accept field day related traffic. So if you don't have 10 friends or family members that you can blast things to or that type of thing, and you're looking for, well, where can I send these things to get my points? There are some of us that have stepped up on here to say we're very happy to take your field day traffic. And if any of you are just kind of crashing the party and you're good at traffic handling and you just wanted to see what I'm talking about and you want to put yourself on this list, it is a wiki entry, so feel free to add your information here, and then everybody's welcome to send field day related traffic to these stations if they want. So that's effectively it from the rules side of things. Let me catch the chat here, and okay, good, got that answered. Can I send messages if I do not have my call sign yet? There's just this for radio operators with call signs. So for field day, you won't get anything. So no points for field day, right? You got to have an amateur radio license for that. If you wanted to send something over the traffic system, then you would need, and you don't have a license, you would need another amateur radio operator to do that for you. And that's what we call third-party traffic. So like, let's say you called me on the phone, or you called a different amateur radio friend on the phone and said, I want to send this through the traffic system. Then on the radiogram, I would be the station of origin because I'm the one that's filling this out for the first time. The place of origin is wherever you are at as the creator of the message. It's one of those fun, you know, could we have made that clearer, but here it is, type of things. The station of origin is the first person that filled this out, and that's me. The place of origin is who created the message text, and that would be wherever you are at. But that is very much allowed. Now, for field day, it wouldn't do any good. So for field day, you have to introduce that to get the points. It has to be you. You couldn't like hand this to somebody and say, please put this out there for me. That wouldn't qualify for the points. You need to actually move it over the air. All right. WinLink. WinLink, you need a license to move things there as well. It is stood up for amateur radio operators, so you would need a license because it's going to ask you what's your call sign when you put it in there. All right, so that's it for the rules. When putting together the radiogram, like let's say to your section traffic manager, you would fill it in just like anything else. I can kind of walk through putting it together here, if that would help you. And again, the screen is in front of me, so it's a little awkward. But let's say this is your number one. I would just one routine. Boy, this is really awkward. K8 AMH, and then I don't know the check yet, so why don't I write a message? Happy. Glad handwriting doesn't count. It's better than using the mouse, but it's still really weird trying to do this. Happy Field Day 73. Like, let's say that's just the message. Then the check. What's the check, everybody? I'll give you a quiz. What's the check on this one? That's right. It's for Dallas, Texas, and then field day, whatever day on field day you do this, but we'll just use today. So June 20, and then I'd put Steve, Lot, Smith, amateur call Kilo Golf 5, Victor Kilo, and then his address was just like 125 Contest Lane or something like that. I'm not going to write the whole thing here because my handwriting is just horrendous and trying to do all that. But I'd put the address and then I'd put the phone number here, and then I would sign this Aaron K8AMH, and then I have my one ready to go to the section manager on field day. I mean, you can fill these out ahead of time and have them ready to go. There's nothing that says you got to wait until field day to fill it in, but you got to wait until field day to actually get on the air and say, I've got one going to the section manager and I've got 10 more going to these states. Then when I get on the traffic net and I move it, like let's say I moved it through John KF5IOU, then in the sent I would put KF5IOU, and I'd put the date, and then I'd put the time, and then let's say I didn't use universal time, and I'd put the time zone Central Daylight Time. And again, my handwriting would be a lot better if it was on paper, but there it is. So that's how I would put together something to the section manager to get that set of points. And then for the other 10, same thing. Number 2, routine, Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, however many words I got. Dallas, Texas, June, the day of field day that you're doing it. 2, Jane Doe, 126, this and their phone number, and then the same thing. They're all going to be the same thing. At this point, it should start to flow more. You fill out your first one, it's going to be like, and then after that, it'll kind of flow a little better. So that's how you would fill them in to get them ready for field day ahead of time. Then the question in the chat, can these be done digitally on field day? What a wonderful transition into WinLink. So let me open up WinLink if it's going to be nice, and let me open it. Of course not. Okay, let me dive into the file system and manually open it because for some reason it's not in my start menu. All right, so this is good old WinLink, nothing special here, so you don't need to install anything magical to do this. You start your new message just like any other WinLink message, but once you have this open, let me size this a little different so it's not quite so big, then I would go into Select Template, and then once you expand this out, you're going to find the Radiogram RRI forms. That's Radiogram Radio Relay International forms. Radio Relay International is another traffic network like National Traffic System, and then there's RRI, and we're all working together to move these things globally. So we all interact with each other. So no worry about this being an RRI form. This will still very much work. I would click on the, I would select this radiogram template, and then the browser's going to open. There we go. Okay, and you're going to get the radiogram that you can fill in. It will try and automatically assign your next number. You can always change this to whatever really it is, but this is the radiogram, number 2, routine. If you had the handling instruction, otherwise leave it on none. Your call sign that you already put in. The check will automatically be figured out. The place of origin, so wherever that is, and the date when you do this. So I would do this on field day. I wouldn't fill these in on the computer ahead of time. I would wait until field day for this. You can fill them out on the paper first and then have them handy so you can just type them in. But wait until field day so you get the right date and everything all set in there. And again, no need to put the time, so I wouldn't worry about that. And then 2 would be exactly what you've got in the radiogram. So if it was going to our section manager, Steve, Lot, Smith, KG5VK, 125 Contest Lane, Ben, Franklin, Texas, I don't know the zip code, and then the phone number, whatever, I also don't know that one off the top of my head. And then, oh, it's actually going to yell at me, that's a bad phone number. All right, I'll actually put the real one. I actually have it written over here, 318-470-9806. And I guess while we're here, I'll put the zip code. I forgot I had that on the other side of this, 75415. And then the message, I'll just say Happy Field Day 73. Notice how it already got the check for us there, and it's already put it up here for us. And then we'll sign it. Now, effectively, we've filled in, we've got the radiogram all set. You can click here to preview it if you want. And I don't know if I just kind of jammed this, or no, that's not doing anything. So we'll pretend that this is something fancy. I have some anti-scripting and things on here. So in any case, if you're in North Texas, then this is our section manager. If you're in a different ARRL section, then send it to your section manager. Don't send them all to Steve. And then I'll take this question that just showed up. How would it show up if you added punctuation to the radiogram? Happy Field Day, initial X-ray. Hope you are having fun, 7-3. And again, now the check has become 1-0. And then the X-ray is just like that, X. Let's see what it does if it does a period. See, it translates for you. So I tried to type a period, but it automatically corrected it. And it doesn't like exclamation points. So, but exclamation point would be the word exclamation. But again, those are rare, so that's probably why it's not built into this script. All right, so let's Happy Field Day 7-3. We'll just go with that. Now at this point, so that it can get introduced into the traffic system, you need to click right here where it says Select a Liaison Station. And you're going to get a list of regions. Now, like for me, my call sign is 8, Kilo 8, Alpha Mike Hotel, because I was licensed in Michigan. But that's not where I live. I live in Texas. So this is very much where it's headed. Steve is in Texas. So I'm going to pick Region 5. So it doesn't matter what his call sign is. What matters is where is this headed. It's headed to Texas. So I'm going to pick Region 5 for Texas, if that makes sense. Then I will close this window. And then we have everything all ready to go. I'm going to hit submit and OK this to say I'm all set. And this is going to look really scary because it's going to blank. OK. I'm hoping this works. It worked yesterday. And now let me move that out of the way. Did it close out my message that I had? It did. I got to do this all again. OK. Select template. There we go. This is a test, right? Everybody tell me what I need to fill in. Okay, we'll still make it number 2, routine, Dallas, Texas, Steve, Lot, Smith, KG5VK, 125 Contest Lane, Ben, Franklin, Texas, 75415, whoops, 75415, 318-470-9806. Uh, Field day 73. I bet I broke it when I clicked this preview button. Probably what I did. All right, liaison station is still Texas Region 5. Close this window. Submit. Okay, don't let me down. Okay, there we go. So what that thing on the browser has done is it's filled all of this in for us. It's got the radiogram number, its precedence, and all the where it's headed, and then BT. If you're doing this over CW, this is going to be important. And then the message, and then the signature, and then that's the end. And it has the information in the to, the carbon copy, and the subject line that the traffic system is going to need to properly route this. So absolutely avoid editing anything that script put in here. This is all set up to go into the traffic system. Then it's like any other WinLink message. You're going to post it to the outbox. And then for some weird reason, Windows decides to stop scaling once I do that. So this becomes really small. So, okay. But at that point, then you would just open a session, whether it's Pactor or that type of thing. Again, you cannot use Telnet. If you try to move this over the internet, then it does not qualify for the bonus points for field day. If it was any other traffic and you wanted to do it, yes, you can. Kind of the idea with the traffic system is we want everything over the air because we're practicing for in case of emergency or things. So if you can, try and avoid Telnet, but definitely for field day, you cannot use a Telnet session to move this. You have to use one of the over-the-air functions. So whether you've got, the sound modem set up, or you've got a Pactor modem and hooked up to your HF radio, or that type of thing, you can move it, like any other WinLink message you move over the air, but definitely not Telnet. It can't move over Telnet. So hopefully that makes sense. Could Jessica send a message using a control operator's call during field day? It would still be your call sign, so it wouldn't count for Jessica at all, but it would count towards your originating and sending it. So could you do that? Yes, and it would still count. So let's say you have a friend that's at the field day site and that type of thing, and they wanted to send a message, and you would do that for them. You would be the station of origin. You are originating, and you are, relaying that into the traffic system. So you would qualify for the points for an origination and a relay into it, even though it's third-party traffic. That's absolutely fine. That's a great question. So, what did the BT stand for? I don't know. I've dabbed lightly into the digital traffic net, and even more lightly into CW nets. So those are areas that, and if you ever go look up the official NTS manual, it's like 400 and some odd pages, and so it's like, nope, I'm not going to read all 400 pages right now. I'm working on field day and get my reports that I send into headquarters each month and all these things, but it's it's a nice thick book if you want to ever read it. So I break, and then I don't know what the AR stands for, Sean, if you happen to know the secret on that one. Over. Okay. See, I don't know much about Morse code, and I don't pretend to. So I just give you the truth. I don't know. So thanks, Sean, for jumping in there. And to fix the scale, okay, I'll have to dig on that. I don't normally run WinLink on this machine. I only installed it a couple days ago, so I could show it to everybody. And I'm like, oh, that's odd. And then I just kept going, type of thing. So I'll have to dig on the scaling. The weird thing about it is I put the screen in 1920 by 1080, so it all looks normal for the recording and things like that, but it still scales weirdly. So there it is. Okay, I'll have to go check out that link. Comment in there, WinLink can work over UHF or VHF. If you can only get to technician, there is a limit to HF frequencies you can use. Okay, so I'll dive into that a little bit too. This is like any other amateur radio function. So you have to work within the scope of your license. And so if you have a technician level license, then you can only work within those frequencies that are allocated for technician level. And same thing for general, and same thing for extra. And so if you have a technician level, you could, and this is how I've used WinLink in the past, just for WinLink messages, moved them over the air to another WinLink gateway to the north of me, about 10, 15 miles. And I've used one of those SignalLink USB sound modem devices, and then used a piece of software to bridge between WinLink and that sound modem. If you have a Pacto modem and want to do it over HF, if you've got the general license and things to do that, you could move it over the HF bands using Pactor. The mode does not really matter. What matters is it just needs to move over the air. So as long as you do that part and get it in that way, then you're good to go. And again, Telnet's a big no-no. Other questions or comments or things? We've gone through all the radiogram content and things. And we've dived in on the field day part, and I think I've got you good to go on that. I'm gonna send a follow-up email probably later tonight. Again, once I would think maybe so it's 4 o'clock, so probably be about 4 hours from now by the time I juggle everything over to the other computer and do all that stuff. So I would think in the next 4 hours, but I'll definitely get it up there on YouTube. Today, barring any internet issue or something magical like that. So, but I'll get that up online, and then I'll send out an email with a bunch of follow-up, like here's the link to my webpage to get the handouts and some of the traffic handling stuff. I'll give you some quick programming notes for North Texas. Steve asked me to quickly mention Steve, our section manager, KG5VK, he will be active during field day on phone, so voice, and also Morse code. So if you're in the North Texas section and you want to send your traffic directly to our section manager, he will be hanging out. Daytime, he says daytime center frequency is 3594.5 with a dial frequency of 3593. I'll put all that in email, so if Yahoo, but I'll say it again here. Center frequency 3594.5 with a dial frequency of 3593, decimal zero. And also be on WinLink, on the WinVara peer-to-peer HF twice on Saturday. You can also send anything through the established traffic nets, so it doesn't have to go straight to him. You can just introduce it into the traffic system, whether a local traffic net on 2 meters or something, or an HF traffic net or that type of thing. The other programming note, again, for those in kind of the North Texas and in that area, the DFW Metroplex traffic net, you can move field day related traffic during the regularly scheduled traffic nets in the field day window, and or you can move them during a dedicated field day traffic net that's set up just to help with the extra traffic for field day. And that will be on, Sean, keep me honest here, I think it's Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the details on the DFW Metroplex traffic net are at dfwtrafficnet.org. So that's dfwtrafficnet.org. And I'm going to make a note just to make sure I put that in my email. Another option you've got is the 7290 traffic net. So those of you that've got your HF stuff stood up and all of that in this area, and the 7290 traffic net's kind of one of those regional nets, so it's here in North Texas and crosses over and some things. 7290 traffic net is going to have their regular net on the 27th from 10 to 12, but they're going to go into an extended session so that when field day spins up, they're ready to go at 1 p.m. To take field day traffic. So 7290 traffic net, that's at 7290 on the dial. So that's 1 p.m. Time zone, 1 p.m. Central time. So if you're on the HF bands and can access access that 7290, you can get that on there. Question is, where can I find, let me scroll up, is there a list of traffic nets in the US? The ARRL has a database of nets. Let me make a note to make sure I put that in the email. And you can look up nets on there. Kind of the easier way, if you don't want to go diving into the ARRL search box. Check with your section traffic manager in your section. I have a list of traffic nets that operate generally in this area that's available, and that's on my webpage. It's on the section webpage, so arrlntx.org, as in ARRL North Texas. But if you can find that information from your section traffic manager, I would bet they'd be willing to give that to you pretty fast if it's not on your section's webpage. But I'll give you the link to the national webpage for their search database. In the presence of properly authorized general or extra amateur able to perform as a control operator, a technician can use HF WinLink modes using frequencies. Okay, let me translate that. So if you're a technician and you go to a field day site, if you happen to have one running, and you're going to operate under their guidance as a control operator, someone let me know on this one. But as long as you can put your call sign is the station of origin, then that's the key part that matters. You need to be the one that's originating it. That's what's important there. You need to be the one that's originating it. Or you could also do it if you're handling it, but if folks aren't in the traffic systems, then the way you're going to be very, very likely doing it is by creating the message and introducing it. Let me see what else is going on here. Yeah, and Sean's got the link to the net directory in there, and I'll put that in the email too. Any other questions before we wrap up? I know we went a little longer than my half hour ago what expected time spot, but I know we were going into field day, and so it's been lots of good questions. And again, I'll send an email out. If you do have questions that come up afterwards, you're welcome to fire an email off to me. Get a hold of your section traffic manager. And again, if you want to send me something, you're welcome to do that, or use the list, or find 10 of your friends, or that type of thing. But definitely feel free to reach out to your section traffic manager, especially if you want to get your points and get the information on how to send it to them and that type of thing. Otherwise, if no other questions, we'll let everybody go, and I'll get to work on the YouTube and things like that. So thank you much, everybody, for your time, and I hope you found this useful, and I didn't throw you into confusion land too hard. I know I fire hose pretty hard, to say, okay, here's the radiogram, and here goes. But it's going to really give you the good foundation on things. And later on, as you continue your traffic handling journey, if you want to get into, keeping track of your traffic to earn points and get some recognition from ARRL and things like that, I want to put together instead of like NTS 101, think of it like NTS 102, like how to take it to the next level, and I'll try to get that message out. I've got an email list that I maintain, and I would put it on there, so I'll give you information on the email list. I already have a lot of this already, but I'm going to write it down anyway just in case. But again, if no other questions, thank you again so much, everybody, for jumping in, and I very much appreciate your time. And I hope you have a good field day, whether you're at home or working it from a field day site. I know this year's going to be a little interesting, but it's glad to see headquarters come up with some rule adjustments to enable us to run from home and that type of thing. And that's, I imagine, I'll be running one Delta, like many others, with my HF gear all in storage. So one of the joys of you're going to build a house and it's only going to take a couple of months, and here we are, and it's still not done. So all my stuff's in storage, so I'll have to play on 2 meters and 70 and whatever. But again, thanks so much, everybody. I'll go ahead and end the call here in about 30 seconds. And again, if any questions, feel free to send me an email or anything like that. So, all right, 73, everybody. You have a good field day and have a good rest of the weekend. And we'll catch you later. And again, take care. 73, everybody.